thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Susan Boyle.
And I'm your co-host, Regina Phalange, and we are Orlando Food News.
Today on Hot Topics, what's up with onions?
Do you have chlorophyll?
Are the chickpeas soaked enough?
Has the rhubarb snatched a loved one from you?
Do you tofu?
Did you get all the dirt on your veggies? Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the tea.
To start us off, we have Meg Trainer, to tell us exactly what's going on in your healthy foods.
Tell us all about it, girl.
Hi everyone, my name is Meg Trainer. Friends call me Meg, but at least they would if I had any. I'm kidding. Anyways, I am here to help you guys today walk, sprint, and jump your way to a better you. Greens, we are talking about phytochemicals. What does that mean? It means greens and vegetables. So phyton comes from the word phytons in Greek, which means plants. So here's the thing. Other influencers who are fake, unlike me, will tell you that anything that's labeled good for you is a phytochemical. That's not true. They'll tell you that proteins, carbs, and good fatties and minerals and vitamins like that are phytochemicals, but that's not true. Anything that is plant-based, that's what phytochemicals are. So other food needs to stay in their lane. All right, so the next thing we're talking about is, can you guess it? Chlorophyll. It's essentially like the foundation and the highlighter for our foods. So that color comes from magnesium molecules that give it the pretty green color. And when they encounter heat, the molecules, they get separated, which gives it that green khaki color. But don't worry at all, it's still super good for you. All right, so the next thing we're gonna add to your pretty little diet is going to be vitamin A. And what you're looking for is carotenoids. And don't worry, it's not all that complicated. What you're looking for is foods that are yellow, orange, and red. And these guys are so good for you. They can even help you with prostate cancer, which is awesome. It's anthocyanins. What does that mean? That means you wanna add dark, beautiful colors like the ones you can find on grapes, plums, eggplants, and all that stuff. Fun fact, they can also be found in autumn leaves, but God, please don't eat those. So nature-wise, these colors exist so that animals know to go towards good food and not poison. But for us humans, it's all good too. So keep those plates colorful, keep those chins up, and keep those hearts pumping. See you guys soon.
Wow, I feel healthier already.
Oh, hold up. They're telling us this breaking news. Let's go to Nadia on the scene for the scoop.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Natalia and Liz. We have new information coming in regarding a germ warfare. Breaking news says the phrase that rocks the nation is from our author himself. It sometimes seems as though there are more people who are afraid of their food than people who are enjoying it. People over the years have tried any and every way to decontaminate their food, even being more harmful than helpful in doing such. However, despite us going through every and any harsh, fruity, or allegedly non-toxic decontamination solutions, we are just given information now that in fact just rigorously washing your fruits and veggies with water is the best way to prevent bacteria, as well as perhaps dish soap for those more harder skinned fruits. This history dates back to the farming boom in the late 1900s, where bacteria and pests became a big issue in our grocery stores. But with the help of modern science, we're able to keep that at bay. Just don't always trust what's on those shelves as for solutions. Back to you guys.
Exciting stuff.
Wow.
But you know what I would like to know more about?
What's that?
Onions. So good thing we have our friendly neighborhood chef Karen with us today. Karen?
All right, good morning and welcome Orlando Food News crew. My name is Karen and today we are going to be discussing onions. Before we start, we're going to be talking about the history of onions. Surprisingly enough, onions are a part of the lily family, also called alliums, and alliums have bulbous onion-scented roots. Other members of this family include garlic, shallots, chives, and leeks. And food historians believe onions originated in Central Asia, while other research suggests that onions were first grown in the Middle East. Onions are grown in 20 US states, and there are over 21 different kinds of onions. Alrighty, so to dive deeper into the topic of onions, the ideas that we're going to discuss are the actual tear-causing chemical compounds in onions, the myths on how to properly cut onions without crying, and Wolk's 2 most practical ways to cut onions without crying. Let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we're going to further break down idea 1, which is the tear-causing chemical compounds in onions. So when compound A reacts with compound S, they form compound T, which is also known as a tear gas. And this chemical reaction is formed by the cutting or chewing of onions. And also with this formation, it forms flavor and pungency compounds. So this is what actually causes the tears to form when you are cutting onions. All right, the second idea that we're going to discuss is the myths on how to properly cut an onion without crying. So the first myth is to cut the stem end before the root end. Let a stream of cold water run in the sink while you cut. Clamp a wooden match between your teeth. Keep a piece of bread in your mouth. Wear contact lenses, or to cut or chop your onions under water. Practical ways to cut an onion without crying. In method 1, Walk suggests that you chill onions in the refrigerator for a couple of hours prior to cutting in order to slow down the chemical reaction that produces the tear gas. And in method 2, he suggests for people to learn how to cut onions as quickly as possible in order to prevent any time for the vapors to bother your eyes.
I love a good onion.
You know, I do too.
But I want to know more about our lesser known vegetables. Our local rhubarb farmer, Liz, is here to give us a video about some rhubarb news. Liz?
Howdy y'all. Today I'm talking about rhubarb, iron, nutrients, and my favorite legume, chickpeas. Rhubarb contains various amounts of oxalic acid and oxalic salts. That's what makes it so sour. Just add some strawberries and sugar and you've got yourself a pie. People often think they're poisonous, but anything is poisonous in excess. Even potatoes have oxalic acid. The leaves contain the most acid, but you still need to eat about 10 pounds. Here's a little bit of history. In World War I, they were short on fresh veggies, so they ate rhubarb leaves, and tons of people were getting oxalic acid poisoning. They were eating too much. Though, iron is still very interesting too. It's funny, there isn't as much iron in spinach as we grew up thinking. We actually get less of it in our bodies from spinach because of that pesky oxalic acid. Historically, spinach was in Popeyes because somebody put a decimal in the wrong place when they were looking at its iron content. But we aren't eating straight iron, just the oxidized compound form of iron. Unless it says reduced iron, then you're eating the little flakes. But iron is still only a macronutrient, one of 11 like zinc, sodium, and copper. 6 of the macronutrients, which are required by plants in large amounts, are things like potassium, nitrogen, and sulfur. Because these elements are spread out, we get differences in identical crops. Now for the chickpeas, you don't need to add baking soda when soaking them, but you can soak them for a little bit before you simmer them for about 4 hours to get the perfect garbanzo bean. Thank y'all for having me.
So before this broadcast, we brought up the conversation of vegetables on Twitter.
Our fans responded.
So let's hear what they have to say about this fun food category.
Haven't you ever wondered how they milk a soybean to get soy milk? Just kidding. The process is actually a lot more complex. It's a lot of soaking, boiling, grinding, and pressing the beans to get the milk. Soy milk is actually a lot higher in protein and lower in fat than cow's milk, and it's free of cholesterol and lactose, which makes it a lot more appealing to a lot of people. Soybeans release an enzyme called lipoxygenase, which leads to an unpleasant flavor when you get the milk, but luckily this can be avoided by heating the milk to just a boil or just before a boil and keeping it there for like 15 to 20 minutes, and that gets rid of the taste. So have you ever wondered why when you cook with soy milk, when you boil it, it just overboils over the pot all like so easily? Wolk says that this happens because soybeans contain glycosides called saponins, and they foam up like suds when they're boiled. But he says that if you slowly heat the milk to a simmer before you boil it, that the heat will destroy those saponins and then it won't boil over. So since we're talking about soybeans, that makes me think of tofu. So when the soy milk is heated with salts and acids, that causes the enzymes in the milk to coagulate together, and that creates curds that can then be pressed into tofu. So regular milk is curdled with rennin, which is the stomach lining of a calf, and then soy milk is curdled with the acids to make tofu. So tofu is great for vegetarians and vegan diets because it doesn't use that rennet or the milk or anything, so it has no animal products in it. And it also is really great at absorbing any flavors of what it's cooked with, so then you can flavor it to anything. Who would have thought, though, that all of this comes from just a little soybean?
Hello, my name is Jenny, and I'm here to talk to you guys about a couple different things today. Have you ever heard the word legume? Legumes are seeds that produce in pods, such as peas, lentils, again, oh my. They are pretty much all of these and any type of bean. They're a good thing because they're high in protein and they have a lot of amino acids. But let's take things on to the awkward side. We all know why we don't eat beans. At least I do. They contain a certain complex carb that our body lacks the enzyme to digest. I think you see where I'm headed with this. It will pass through the intestine into the lower bowel, and then bacteria will feed on it, and this produces various gases that eventually exit our body. There are some ways people have tried to combat this awkward and unfortunate experience. It is known that the more often you eat them, the more your body will adapt and hopefully produce a lot less gas over time and a lot less embarrassment. Another option is to take over-the-counter things such as Beano or charcoal tablets to stop this before it even happens. So if you have a wedding to go to, or something you probably don't want to have this issue for, you should take these over-the-counter remedies. So those are just some tips and tricks to avoid the embarrassment. And so I hope you learned a little bit more about miso and legumes. Thank you.
Look at the time, that's all we have time for today.
Check our website for behind-the-scenes videos of all of our guests talking about the author of What Einstein Told His Cook, Robert L. Wolk. Thanks for watching.
Happy Veterans Day, everyone, and have a good night. Dun, dun, dun! For my chapter, I found that Mr. Wolk gave us a lot of interesting information about nutrients and minerals that are in our fruits and vegetables and how they help us, our bodies. So I found that's really interesting. That made me more of a conscious shopper. And although it was a lot of science facts and a lot of words that we don't use on a day-to-day basis, I found it really interesting and really funny. So it was genuinely a good and a fun read. So I think he did a splendid job with the chapters.
There enough info in the chapter. I definitely think I know a lot more about miso and legumes than I did before, which was close to nothing. I had no idea there were even remedies to help out the awkward after effect that beans have on our bodies. So I know that now, so I guess that's pretty helpful. And I also had close to no idea what miso even was because I don't really eat sushi and Japanese food and stuff like that. So now I definitely have more knowledge.
Okay, enough information. Though I would have liked to know how much of the stalk of the rhubarb was going to kill me. I'm out in those fields all day. Maybe we need an experiment here. I think I'd also like to know a little bit more about how they put the decimal in the wrong place when they were checking the iron content in the spinach. That seems kind of like a big deal, and it only got fixed years later? That's major. Maybe we should get one of our scientist friends to do a little experiment to double check, just for sure. But overall, Wolf did a great job.
I do think that Wolf gave enough information in his book and everything that he talked about. For example, in our chapter 3, he gave lots of information about soybeans and tofu and the enzymes in the soybeans and how they react to heat and how you can correct different problems that you have with them. And he even took the time to compare soy milk to regular milk and give you the benefits of soy milk over regular milk and what makes it better or more of a appealing to people. So I think he really did a good job in giving information.
So the burning question is, did Wolk give enough information, and did he give the right information? And I absolutely do believe that Wolk gave a fair amount of information as regards to common everyday myths on how to cut onions without crying, and he also provided methods to bypass the tear gas. I truly believe that the information he provided is not only right, but scientifically correct.